King, you're live.
Hello.
Nobody has the thing yet, as it is private. I will. Oh, it is public. Just kidding. It is live. It is live. I will take and do this. I don't know why. That's how it is. Then
I was checking work stuff. What'd you say?
nothing. Just dotting my T's, cross my I's.
I doubt Andrew tunes in for the YouTube one, but
Mm-hmm.
God, he called me the fuck out in his Discord today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me scroll up, see if I can find it. He goes, I was responding to somebody, and out of nowhere, Andrew goes, "Send me some pics of you in your undershirts." He goes, every time Barrett turns his webcam on, he's just chilling in Christmas pajamas and the undershirt. And I said, it's true. Funny enough, wearing a different form of that again today. So for everyone that's here right now, here's my undershirt as I put my coat on, and here are my Christmas pajamas.
Here's the link for the YouTube members.
I felt so attacked. As I sat there in my Christmas pajamas reading that comment, I went, this is mean. I worked in the office all week last week. Let me wear my comfy clothes when I'm remote.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you wear comfy clothes all day, I'm sure, and then finally when you turn the camera on, you're like, I gotta put a real shirt on and put a hat on.
No, this is what I wear. I just wear this shit all day. Yeah. Feeling good. You.
How we doing tonight?
I'm well.
I am not feeling good. God, I wanted him to drop another album so bad.
I don't know if it's gonna happen, man.
Yeah, probably not. I won't give you the context, but I got this in my mail when I got home from the offsite, and it was this sticky note attached to a package.
It's funny.
So my boss sent me a message that said Commander is for nerds, and he sent me this foil equal treatment.
Funny.
Which is not an expensive card. It is like a $2 card. But I was bitching about it in person as I was talking Commander with Jeremy while we were in Seattle. And I was saying like, man, I really hate how these old cards don't have foils because I had a non-foil in my deck. And he
Mhm.
goes, Bill goes, what's that set from? And I go, whatever this symbol is. I don't fucking know. He goes, they had foils in that set. And I go, when I placed an order, when I placed an order for all these commander cards, I wanted foils of all of them. So when I placed this order, this foil card didn't exist online. And he go, and apparently as I was bitching about this, he went into a cart, bought it, and shipped it to my address.
Very funny.
And with that note attached to it. Meanwhile, they did send me this cute little token. Look, it's a bird token.
That's cute. Little
Yeah,
one
it's a
one.
1/1 flyer. Yeah,
Yeah.
1/1 flyer.
That's
If
cute.
Rebby ever uses bird, she can use this token. I don't want it. I don't summon birds.
Okay. Bye.
That was resetting.
This.
I kept putting cards in front of the screen.
Before we get into the podcast proper, holy shit. I'm so bummed that you got Jester in the first draft pick.
I think what's more funny to me is that I once again didn't build it
I
and
noticed.
and play it.
I noticed. Okay, from here, I get to share my screen. It will be this. Go live. I don't want to watch this. Oh, I don't want to watch this. Show my screen share. Show non-video participants. Okay, you can see the screen? And when I take, can I do this?
Yeah, I can see it.
I see that there. Dope. I have hit the record button, but I'm done to edit out whatever we want at the front half.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah. You want to just jump into it?
Yeah,
Let's do it. 3, 2, 1. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the first ever official podcast for for the weekly top 8 drafts. I'm Tam, joined by Barrett. Barrett, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm good. I can't wait to talk about our first ever top 8 draft ever in the history of Tam and Carmel's channel.
It'll be a new format, that's for sure. A thing that we've never done before. For anybody at home who does not know what's going on, for my people over on YouTube, members and / or patrons, me and Barrett sit down and play out a weekly top 8 bracket after a draft that we do the week prior. Play out some matches. The matches will all be up on YouTube. During this podcast, we're going to sit down, we're going to talk about the decks, the choices that we made inside of the decks, and so on and so forth. Trying to make the decks better, just talk about like expectations and such. And at the very end, we're going to draft for next week's bracket. Before we jump in, Barrett, you had 4 characters to pick from the draft last time. Oh, sorry, 8 characters. You picked 4. What 4 characters did you pick, and why?
Yeah, so we actually drafted these a couple weeks ago, but this was post all of the Hex cards being revealed, right? Because this was after Worlds, the full set list was out. And with that, we also had confirmation that the champion cards were going to be legal at the release of Hex. And so I picked these 4 characters for today, specifically Percy, Rodan, Nick Reagan, and Deviljin. Really to like play characters that I think were going to be relevant for everybody that's watching at home. We have a regional that's happening in Denver next week, and I'm not playing. I know you're not playing, but the idea is if there's gonna be a week that at the beginning of our draft cycle and this competition in our top 8 that we do, we probably should be playing some characters that are, in my opinion, that you think are going to be at this competitive event, so that your stream being a platform in your YouTube channel for being a place that people can see the competitive decks. I try to play a different flavor of different things. Deviljin has some cool new tools with Hex that we'll talk about. Nick Reagan is a brand new character card that is coming out and does very scary, explosive stuff as a 5-hander. Rodan, kind of the bread and butter, true as blue, with still some cool defensive tools, still playing that void symbol.
Yeah.
And then Percy to be this very much like the aggro 7-hander of the format, in my opinion. So that was really just what I came to showcase today.
Love it. And of the characters that I had, I picked Grog Strongjaw, Mitchell Chimino, Tarion Darrington, and Vaxeldan Daggermaster. My idea here was 2 of these characters I'm really interested in Grog and Vax, and then the other 2 other people have said that they were interested in, so I wanted to give them my best fair shake. And hilariously, I didn't, which we will get to. But I really, really, really like how Grog plays. I think if I was playing in Denver, he would be at the very tip top of my list of things that I want to look at and move. And no spoilers, because we're just going to go from the list that I am sharing down. We could talk about spoilers inside the matches if we want, but like it's not beholden to it. But like, I think if a couple of checks went my way a little bit better, I could see Grog winning this whole thing, truthfully. He's got all the tools needed to win, but I don't think that Vax could have made it out, at least the list that I made. I still think that there's something here with this character, but we'll talk about it. And then Mitchell and Terry and I are decks that I borrowed and then changed and shaped a little bit. That you want to just jump into the lists?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm excited to see your Tarion list. I actually just played Tarion in paper yesterday. and I borrowed that list from somebody as well. So I'm excited because you were playing very different things that I was.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to talk about that one.
Love it.
But yeah, go ahead, pick your favorite.
We'll start with Double Gen. As I move over to the 2-person showcase, I will turn this thing on, and then make stuff a wee bit bigger. There it is. Okay. This is your list. Hit me with what's going on here.
Asterix, not my list. I took this deck from Wub. Wub is the Deviljin player in my opinion.
Sure.
Not because I think he actually plays this character a lot, but he won the retro thing and Nationals playing this character. He's the reason it got banned in retro, I feel like.
Yep.
Just from one tournament appearance. And although there are other people that are playing this character in standard, I always feel like Wub sits down and builds this guy no matter the like format, even if he doesn't end up playing it. So this is a stolen list I took from Wub because he had the idea of, well, what happens if you put 4 copies of Aerial Goblin Bolt in the deck? And that's pretty much what it is, right? Like, this is still the Chaos Deviljin deck. Wub is a big fan of the Rando Spirit Gun in him, and I'm not opposed to that. I do like doubling up on my once per turns, but the biggest change here is Aerial Goblin Bolt being in the deck now. And as you can see, if you go watch the games, the ability of either checking one of these off the top or adding these in from your discard pile and having flip card pool enhance or response speed of canceling a blitz or enhance ability that is not restricted to a certain card type, as you sometimes see on cancellation abilities, is just very powerful in your aggro 5-hander. This is essentially doubles up as your ready. I'll call out Revoke in the worlds of retro, right? And when you have an all B cancel that exists on a card, it pushes aggro decks to have answers to defensive pieces and provides you just enough defense to survive other aggressive decks. The fact that this is a card pool enhance abusive effect with a character like Deviljin, it functions as both while still being the aggressive damage output monster that you can be. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I Deviljin is one of those characters that I also really like. I've played quite a bit of Deviljin, but I just disagree with Rando Spirit Gun like as a whole. I think it's just like not the correct thing to do. I would have much rather seen just those 2 spots. I guess teaming is fine, but like I think teaming is even worse now with Aerial Goblin Bolt flipping constantly in the card pool. It just like feels way worse. I felt when I was playing as the list, and even when you were playing as the list, I missed the 2 copies of Titan Haymaker for massive stats.
Yeah.
I missed the copies of Double Trouble, which I think are crazy with Phantom Threat, right? You go Phantom Threat into add Titan Armbar, add Echoes of Momentum, Double Trouble, and it's just 100 damage on 2 cards. And then you get to like cycle draw. It's got stun. Like it's so good, even with the like camouflage counter loop and all of that jazz. It's so good, and I just don't think that Deviljin using his ability a second time is worth what the other output that Rando Spirit Gun does for the rest of the deck.
Yeah, for sure. I think you can obviously tell that like when Wub was making this, and even when like this is a straight Wub cut this down to 60 cards. How do we get Aerial Goblin Bolts on the discard pile? By playing 4 copies of Inspiring Song, 4 copies of Radiant Visage, like these cards that help you mill things to get these attacks in your discard pile, while still doing the main Deviljin stuff. I don't disagree with you. I think this deck has a lot of room to grow, but I really enjoyed like showcasing it a little bit of just like this is the minimum now with this one brand new tool from Critical Role, and it really changes the deck dynamic. And genuinely, I think it changes its power level. So like that was mainly the main focus. I think in a similar sense, you for sure don't have to play randos. You for sure don't have to play teamings. It still does the camouflage counter loop thing. We lost Award the Victor. We're not doing that anymore. But instead, like I think you're right. We could put in a few echo moves here. I think even you showcased Unfazed that we'll talk about later tonight. I think even like 1 or 2 copies of Unfazed in this character would feel pretty good.
Yeah.
High damage. It makes your opponent want to block it. It gets rewarded when it's blocked. You can pass a 6 check. So it's not really the end of the world. But yeah, I think this being a very good starting point, it showcases what the deck can do now, even whether or not you decide to keep Rando Spirit Gun or not.
Totally. All in all, though, like if you're just a Deviljin fan, you want to put no work into changing your deck. This is just a grade A deck to pick up. It's very good.
Yeah,
it's very good, very strong.
I'd give it like a 4 out of 5 just because of the 2 check. If you were gonna hand a new deck to somebody that likes Deviljin from Tekken, like probably cut the 2 check and make them play the game. Like but yeah,
love it.
That's like the step up.
Moving on, we'll talk Grog. I absolutely love this character. I think he's the character inside of Critical Role that feels the most translated from a classic Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition character of all my moves hit hard. If I get rolling, I snowball even harder, and then that damage reduction on face of the unblocked move for the minus, like it feels so much like a barbarian. It is such a huge flavor win, and he plays in a similar idea that I like to play. I tried him under fire beforehand, and then I remembered that Elvish tutoring existed, and so just being able to flip, commit, search, stack your deck for an attack. Normally it's lethal slash. Draw it with Grog is like crazy. The amount of burst that this character can do on turn 2, turn 3 after a singular attack has landed is so nuts. And then with things like Battle Lore Release and Electric Moth on the turn 1 to like pop off and go for it, it's very, very good. Cards that I'm not in love with. I'm not in love with Tetra Terror. I think it could be something else. It was just a, hey, these are the, if I have a momentum, which I normally do, because I have to land hits in order to make stuff happen. I want to, these are 2 attacks that you have to block, and then you just don't get to block the rest of it. Combined with the foundation base is all about just like locking you in prison. Referee Jury, putting something down to 4 damage. Grog is -2. Warm and Bubbly, Pull from Danger, Weapons Clash, Set the Record Straight, Greater Goal, Steadfast Resolve, all of this damage reduction in order to that's in my stage, and then Grog is just providing the damage and the flow. It's just, I'm gonna play moves over and over and over and over and over again, and then sometimes you're just like, hey, I will you don't have an answer, so I will Elvish tutoring, stack of Defeating the Colossus Titan, play Defeating the Colossus Titan in a late game scenario, and just murder you with it. Just feels all in all good. Just feels good.
I like what you're doing here. I don't think there's anything I dislike. I think the biggest downside to this deck is like, I think this deck will struggle against very early damage reduction and also just chain blocking, right? Because your character does not roll until you take damage or deal damage.
Yeah.
And so it's like this weird scenario that like if your opponent just blocks all your moves, it's almost like Byakko syndrome where it's like, oh, you're actually a 5-hander up until turn like 3. If you can't land the moves. And I would say that's probably my biggest thing here of like, I like the DR stuff you're doing. I think that's really cool. I think you could also do it on death. I do think though, like Greater Goal plus Steadfast Resolve and like the ones that destroy foundations kind of synergy feels a little weird. Whereas I think we could really go all in to like the cards discarded way. Like I like to set the record straight. The fact that we're using Electric Moths offensively, like I think there's really a world where because you have fire and death, you could be playing the like Mikasa's Admissions from hand for -2 damage, and also I'm with yous from hand, right? Or in stage. I think this deck works also on death because most of your attack package is not locked into Earth except for Tetra Terror, which you said you didn't like. I didn't like it either, and Electric Moth specifically. But there are many more ways to draw more cards. But I mean that would be literally the only 2 attacks you would lose. Titanstone has all of his symbols or no?
No, I don't think it has.
No, it has water. No,
so
it doesn't have death.
Yeah.
But it never hit the table. I'm sure it would be great the wider your stage goes, but I know a lot of people are focusing like more throws into their Grog decks to kind of really get things going. That doesn't fix the like what happens when you play against the DR prison decks.
I think this character's actually pretty decent against the DR prison decks, truthfully. I mean, just +3 damage, and then you have things like Battle Aura and defeating that like get big. Those decks have a hard time killing Grog because he just has an inherent -2 on face, and he has way like a ton of health. I think you just like have to actively try and play a longer game. And slight spoilers for what's happened. Face me again when you don't have negate on every single enhance as a 5-hander, right?
I don't disagree with you. But I also just felt like you were drawing a ton of cards, and like if I played Rodan and I just blocked all your moves, like there's a world where on the turn that you draw 8 cards and you play 8 attacks, I also as Rodan could draw cards defensively and block 8 moves, right? So it's like that, and then I don't know where your deck goes.
I think that's,
except for when you take damage.
I think that's fair. I think the other part of it is that like if Rodan's allowed to block 8 times, how does any deck beat that, right? Like I think that you're right. I think Rodan's like a bad matchup, but like in these other like I've played Grog versus like Godzilla, and I've just waxed Godzilla because of how consistent, specifically the Earth symbol is on Elvish Tutoring. Elvish Tutoring was just the difference maker for what this character does, specifically on the Earth symbol. There's a world
Yeah.
where like Death or Fire is like whatever, but Elvish Tutoring adding Lethal Slash or Tetra Terror or a second Haymaker to just like close out the game is just so good. Or you add an instant Shining Flash on defense, draw it with Grog, block with it. Like it's so strong to just tutor up this, to literally tutor. That like this is the reason I want to play this character on Earth.
I agree
Full
with you.
stop.
I don't disagree. I think that is really, really good. I'm just saying, like, I think there's a miss here for me on the attack package because I think, like, I'm not saying you play 100% throws, but I think you have to have a little bit of agency that's just, like, pray that my opponent doesn't interact with my damage or block my attacks. And, like that's why Tetra Terror to me felt so bad, right? Like, Tetra Terror, like, you're not a speed character. This thing has a, oh, block me thing. But it's like, I don't think you had a single momentum the entire game, like, every time we played. And it had nothing to do with, like, you not attacking me, but like the turn that you did attack me and you didn't finish your food, then I win, right?
Yeah.
So like even if you got momentum, the Tetra Terror doesn't matter for later. There's no momentum outs in this deck except for defeating. Like it was just stuff like that. I also think this guy's a bad matchup into Tarion, which we'll talk about when we get to Tarion.
Yeah.
So like I think there's a world where you have to cater to a lot of stuff in the format. This guy's very good. Out of all the Critical Role characters that we picked to play today, this is one of the contenders. I think he's going to struggle a bit against other stuff right now, and that's kind of just how I feel.
Yeah, his matchups are a little divisive, you could say. I think
Yeah,
a lot of 75 25, 70 30s.
He's so generically good though that would be a reason enough that I think that this is like a 10 out of 10 character to hand a new player,
Yeah.
and he will feel good to play. Get a player introduced to 5-handers because that's usually a very difficult thing to do, while still playing the game at a normal pace. As you even know in the games that we played, this guy doesn't have 31 life. He has a fuck ton of HP. I like the damage reduction stuff you're doing, and he also has death, and you're not even doing that stuff, right? Like, so yeah, again, I think the deck is good. I think if you want to take this and level it up to the like competitive level, I think something has to change because of what exists in the format.
Sure. Love it. Move on to Mitchell. So Mitchell, I got from Mitchell. This is Mitchell's list. I made a couple of changes here. Like I added in a couple of cards. Like he wasn't playing Inspiring Song at all. Like he just like didn't put any Critical Role cards in this deck. And I was like, I think Inspiring Song is good enough as a 1/6 my check +1, your check -1. As well as he talked about Forceful Negotiator, and I just wanted more high blocks, so I did that. And then he was only running 19 attacks in like a 72 card list or something. So I just toss it in unfazed. This list feels like Prison if it survives past turn 4. If it can figure out how to put up some real defense, I think that this character can easily find checkmate pretty simply. And I was talking to him a little bit about it, and I almost got to do it against you. I was 1 card short on turn 2 versus one of your characters of being able to do the Quima's task thing on turn 2. I reviewed a Quima's. It went to my momentum. I had one in my discard pile, and I had the Spirit Gun Mega to discard and pick up. I just didn't have a second one in the discard pile to make it work. And I could remove the first one with spending the momentum on the Spirit Gun Mega for the powerful. In which case, the target that I would have had was 4 copies of Combined Pyre Power. Which would have been pretty decent. Yeah, but all in all, this character's just like a little slow to start and doesn't have enough defense on face. And I don't think the good symbol is quite good enough at defending itself. I was thinking about maybe looking at what an order list looked like, but I built Order Terry. So I was like, I don't want to build 2 order decks, and this is just what Mitchell handed me. I think a lot of this is very cool, but man, it really feels that the good symbol just hasn't gotten very much support. That's just what it feels like. As we get more good symbol support, I think that this character is going to feel way better, but man, it is a tough sell under the symbol right now.
I think I agree with you. It's just the speed of which the good symbol, I think the good symbol is strong. We've seen Kambu Deku decks work at Worlds, like in multiple capacities, and that is a good deck. There is so much defensive capabilities and protection for what you want to do that when you see a character like Mitchell, that in my opinion wants to get to this giant stockpile of momentum by playing the game at a longer pace, eventually you're pretty much unkillable and also an aggressive threat.
Yeah.
The problem being is that this doesn't have the same like text that Deku on the move does, where you can have onus to end the game while also being able to play a little defensively, right? And
Yeah.
so like that's like Mitchell Chimino, the character card, is 100% at the mercy of the speed of the format. And this is week 1 of our draft thing. We're gonna be playing heavy hitters in the format this week. As we go later on, I think this character would be a lot better. I think for week 1, it's probably just a little too slow, like you said. I play this character a lot. I'm a big fan of playing cards like Falling Debris in this guy because it's just Chaos Attune and it actually gives you a threat, not just later when you have a million momentum, but even in the beginning.
I almost
like
put it in my deck. I was so
like
close.
A 5, it's a 4 high for 6 5 diff with a breaker block that, in my opinion, it just feels better than Swarmed by Titans because Mitchell will always have 1 momentum, so it's a 5 difficulty, 5 high for 7 that you can maybe give speed if you want to tap a thing or have a Defiant Stance to make it free.
Yeah.
Like, that's just good. Like, that's just good stats for a 5 diff. The problem with the character, you go to play a 5 diff or something and you check a 3, you probably die because of what exists right now in the format, and that's just rough.
Yeah.
He wants to build for 2 turns, and even then you might not live. But he's cool. He's very good. This character only gets good, I think, as he exists in standard. And like this guy's got a lot of text, and it's all good text, right? So
yeah. All in all, like I think this is a totally fine way to play it. But as you said, like if the format is fast, this specific deck cannot keep up. It just can't.
Yeah.
We'll move on to Nick Reagan.
Meanwhile, here's my 116 card pile that I stole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as you can tell, this deck is very lazy to build. You just play 4 copies of everything. 48 attacks, 68 foundations, and the goal is you need to build 3 on turn 1, and then maybe you can turn 2 somebody. Sadly, the character is like a little hot Yahtzee kind of thing, and does fold a little bit with interaction. That being said, with the way that we play our draft format, didn't expect to run into a lot of that.
Yeah.
This is very much a like feast or famine character also for the format, but on the other side of the spectrum as Mitchell. I think this is one of the premier aggro characters to play right now, because of the ability of doubling up on enhances, getting stuff that you couldn't normally do twice per. It's the reason why people are looking at sweeping daggers.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
is what Nick Reagan does, but with your own deck, not having to rely on your opponents. Like that being said, like you look at all of these things, and aside from the few niche ones, someone playing sweeping daggers against Nick Reagan, you're eating pretty good.
Yeah.
Like if any of those hit the discard pile, right? Like it's that same idea. So as long as you can build 3 foundations or 4 or whatever, hopefully they're ones that help you pass checks like Ignite, or they're capture the targets to help you ready as your other turn. The goal is to play 3 or 4 attacks on turn 2 and you buff enough stats so that the last couple of ones are usually for your opponent's life total. If you hit the good effects too, you can draw a bunch of cards early on in the game, stabilize, build a bunch of foundations. In my opinion, the best turn for Nick Reagan is turn 3. But this guy can whiff, and I did whiff quite a few times. And I think he does fall to interaction. It's just the way that we're playing our format. There's no sideboards.
Yeah.
We're not hyper fixating on a deck that you have to go run through Swiss with, and I think this guy can lose. It just, when you look at like what we're doing, it looks like it's very hard to, because of what this guy can do.
Yeah. As I look at this list, I was very much sleeping on Dark Interruption whenever you milled it and were like, or whenever you played it, I was like, this card's not that great. It's fine in Nick. I think it's totally passable as a 4 diff. Which, if you look at like the rest of your list, it's like a lot of really high difficulty stuff. Death from Above, Teaming Asterix, Patchwork, True, Spirit Gun Final, Final Smash, Tinker Shot. Technically, like these are all like big 5/6 diffs, and so like having a quality 4 diff that you can play inside is totally chill. I think my least favorite attack is just Teaming. I don't know why this card is in here outside of I hope that I can bank the extra one. I would rather just like there's got to be another 3 diff that you could just like tack on that like has some amount of text that does something, does anything that could be this 3 diff spot, just like the besieged. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean 3 diff slot, right? The idea is that it's always on a 5, and 3 diffs are not always on a 5.
Yeah.
The guy draws enough cards that if you can just pass checks, again, I recommend you just build for 2 turns. After like turn 2, slinging a World's Weakest Hunter that gains another effect that is always draw 3, and you challenge your opponent to block this guy. If not, I draw 3.
Yeah.
And you just poke with this lazily, make them use resources. If they give you the draw 3, not even including what the other effect that you copied or gained was, and you build for a second turn, then you go into turn 3, and teaming actually becomes the way that you kill people. It's teaming in Besiege, right?
Yeah.
Like it's playing them at the end of this after you played big stuff, and like Big Fist Bash, right? Big Fist Bash functions as another 3 diff, right?
Yeah.
While also having a way to use all of these cards that you generate in your hand. From when you hit the Death from Aboves, or you hit with the World's Weakest Hunters. But I don't disagree with you. I like the idea that the person that built this deck like isn't just playing a bunch of broken enhances. Cards like Teaming, cards like Besiege, like and Tinkershot, like they give you no text to copy, but they do a thing in the deck, right? Tinkershot is specifically, we're also playing, 4 copies of Science Bros. Like, if you do lead with this, it does give you double triggers for Science Bros, your character plus itself.
Yeah.
You can remove another one for more stats, and it will gain and enhance randomly off of the top 8 cards of your deck. So it doesn't feel bad, even though this is a Blitz card. Meanwhile, I do think that cards like Dimensional Sphere are like the weakest one, but having some cool block tricks, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, because like you're 33 health, you get to potentially re-ready something if you are desperate with Nick. It'd just be like, hey,
Yeah.
this one block is what's gonna save me, and it's an Omni block. I'll remove your thing, get over it. Yeah, like going down to the singular-ish card in hand with Nick, and just like it's the Dimensional Sphere, probably feel safe enough.
It is though, like you look at the foundations too. Like this deck is very very full send, and it plays the most weakest amount of defense you've ever seen in your entire life. Like I can't tell you how many times that it's like I would like have like an always cool in my hand, and I go, this is my only line of defense. If I built this card, this is all I have.
Yeah.
Because like I like multiple times would have Big Fist Bash in my hand, and I'm like, yeah, man, my +3 Breaker 3 block is gonna be great, and I can tell you this guy can't block with that card for shit.
Yeah, it's very bad.
And like it even is, I'm like, there's even 4 copies of Evasive Maneuver in here, which is a minus speed card, and it's just like unless you built it on turn 1,
you just can't. You're not gonna play it.
You're just you just can't block anything.
Yeah, you got that and Fateful Decision. That's pretty much it.
And right? Fateful, yeah. So again, like. I think this is very much the opposite of what we said about Mitchell. This deck is very aggressive, and I think if you tailor this deck to not be doing this hyper aggro thing, this character feels significantly worse.
Yes.
So it's like really weird to saying that like a version like this is the best version of this character, but this is still a 116 card deck. Your opponent interacts with you in any way, shape, or form, and this deck shuts down. Like it just shuts down, because if you make it to turn 4, I don't know how this deck actually wins aside from ripping true 100% unleashes off the top over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And that is just like, I guess you got lucky, but this deck this deck struggles against resets. This deck struggles against anybody that can chain block. This guy struggles against anybody that like Ares smiles you, and like he can be defeated. In our format though, he kind of shines.
Yeah. No, I love it. Love it. On to Percy.
This is the one deck today I brought that I made. I made this one, Tam.
Nice.
Yeah, this is this is Percy. Again, I said at the beginning, I think this is just the premier 7-hander, premier aggro 7-handers at play right now, as characters like Ymir and Pony lose a couple of tools in rotation. This is how do we turn the casino deck into actually a monster, right? And that's what you do with this guy, right? The bottom response is not unplayable. It helps lock in some extra stuff, and it has board interaction to a degree. But the key part is how many cards can we remove with the Science Bros on the table? Well, it's with all the the Bing Pot cards from the casino decks, right?
Yeah.
So literally, if you look at this deck and you look at the way I built it, there are 4 copies of every single Bing Pot card that he can play. So he has all the death ones. Aaron's Trial being a very, very good order one that Kevin Broberg got to showcase with his Erwin Smith deck that he won with a regional with. And you just have a bunch of stuff in here that triggers that removal effect when they hit the discard pile, no matter where the cards are. So I put Don't Do This is in here because it's a great discard out for if you get the Bing Pot cards in your hand. A Mortal Shapeshifter for if they're in your stage. Probably want to bump it up, but this card's already 69 cards, and obviously the ideal thing for this deck I think is to be 60 cards, but I'm bad at the game and I don't know how to cut cards. Like I still wanted to play Knott's Flask, even though it got all the way down to a 1-drop. I wanted to try Punisher's Beam, damn. I wanted to try it so bad. So I kept one in the deck.
So the Percy deck that I had made was doing No Mercy Percy, Punisher Beam, Dual Needle Lunge, and like X amount of copies of Chomp. And so like I would Chomp, break your foundation, Punisher's Beam, grab a momentum, you block the Punisher Beam, sure. No Mercy Percy, you flip something to do that. I will break some things. Like that was my idea with him, and it was very good. My issue is my opponent just, after game 1 saw my game plan and never flipped their foundations. And so my stuff was like pretty blank. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I would check just bad enough to not live. And I wasn't full sending. I had the combines, but I didn't have the Unabashed and the Avoiding Conflicts. And boy, howdy, you opened Science Bros way more than I ever opened that card. That card was crazy. And I just like never got to see that one on turn 1.
Yeah, and like that's the reason, in my opinion, why this needs to be a tight 60 is to find Science Bro every time you mulligan. If you are going first and Science Bros is not in your hand, genuinely, like, I mean, you've played Dr. Wily. If you don't see whatever it is, you go for it. Like you just go and try and find the card, right? Yeah. And so that's what this deck is doing, right? It has to find Science Bros. Tinker's Touch removes a card. Weapon at the Ready removes a card. There are also tech foundations that work with the character. Foresight has remove itself as cost. Botan's Coaching, don't do this, get them out of your hand. There's just, Knott's Flask mills you 3. Punisher's Beam mills you 3 and gets you a momentum to potentially echo a No Mercy Percy. Yeah. But, like, No Mercy Percy was not the, like, focus. No Mercy Percy, and I said it, obviously, when I played it, but it was like, this card is meant to shuffle my Bing Pot cards back into my deck that you missed. That, like, you did on a check or something, right? Which is why it's not a 4 of. Also, the Science Bros is so important that like you have to build it, and this is a 2 check, so you want to go first and you wanted to build it out right off the bat. I think the worst attack in this deck, and having played this deck enough times, is Charged Alien Spoof. I thought maybe I'd be playing enough attacks to chain stuff. Nope, you don't need this one.
I don't think this is very good.
Yeah, no, you don't need it at all. The Blitz is good if your opponent has a lot of interaction for you, so maybe that's the reason to play it. But I genuinely, and I never got to play it against you, but like Betraying Shove to me is actually just the way smarter play because it is a 6 base damage throw, and it is a tech card that has a 3 block modifier, which means if they're in your discard pile, you give 3 speed to something else. Because I'm playing this one, I really wanted to play Inventor's Creation, which is not in here. But Inventor's Creation is a 4-diff attack that is tech that says remove an attack from your own discard pile, gain all of its keywords and keywords ratings. I wanted to remove a Betraying Shove, but the only card that actually ended up staying was Betraying Shove because I thought the throw was actually valuable for the same reason why people play Jaw Jammer and a lot of other casino decks.
Yeah, love it.
Pepperbox Fire is a 3-diff. That's not fair. And Battle Aura Release is ranged, so it works with the character.
yeah. Our lists are very, very, very close. Yours is just like a little more all in on the idea, and mine was a little more all in on that foundation destruction, like play the Chomp to break your stuff, Punisher Beam, cool things. Very cool deck, man. Yeah. I think I don't know. There's a world where like you've got Betraying Shove in your deck. My 3 low block was just the Dual Needle because it's also a tech. It's a tech that just like goes to momentum, and then you can like Dual Needle into No Mercy Percy on turn 2 is just a beating, dude.
Probably broken.
Like it feels so crazy. But like when you miss with it, I paid my 3 health in my 7 hands or 20 health character. That's like Like it's a little rough.
Yeah. No, I like that. I think that's very true and very smart. That
Yeah.
you know,
Hey, you ready? It might even be
you
like
ready?
charged alien comes out, 2 of those go in, so that you can just explode on turn 2 if you want to, but like you
Yeah,
don't have to. It
yeah,
also
because like
deals with
Punisher beam.
uh flipping their or milling their deck if they have any sort of stacking identities, which is relevant at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, no, Burst Pierce is a great card. Don't get me wrong. I think the reason why that card's good is because it's Echo and it's a 5/6. That's the only reason why I think that
Yes.
card's great.
Yes.
And like it draws you a card and does the cycling thing. But yeah, I almost always was cycling in being pot cards because I think that's just the best thing to do for this type of deck. But I don't disagree with you. I think Dual Needle is smart. I think even Punisher's Beam can be smart.
I like the
And
one of.
those
I think one of is perfect.
it's just a cool way. Like it does get you a momentum
Yep.
while milling 3 cards, which is doing the thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think yeah, it felt good when I played it, but yeah, it was just one of. But yeah,
I dig it. We'll move on to Rodan.
3 of mine in a row. Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
I took this deck. Not that I think it's really doing anything crazy, right? We know that Rodan is good. Rodan is doing the I would like to block everything and I will kill you in a game of attrition type thing. And there are some pretty good tools that came out in Hex. I look at Cabal's Ruin. This is a card that incentivizes you from taking no damage from attacks and eventually will turn into damage on your moves. What does Rodan struggle to do? Kill your opponent, typically, aside from giving speed. This is a way to backswing your successful defense into a successful offense. That being said, also the attacks. The things that were only really added in here were Violet Animus, Sweeping Daggers, and Aerial Goblin Bolt, which, as you can see with all of them being 2-ofs, all it had to do with was these are probably just the best value attacks from Hex that you could slot into a character like Rodan. But none of these do a lot of damage, right? None of these push that kill potential. They're all very utility. Sweeping Daggers is like the closest, and it's dependent on what your opponent plays. But like Vital Animus Shot is really good in Rodan, but the Void deck isn't really putting a lot of damage on it compared to like I would say even like Air Rodans can find ways to put a lot of damage on this card. Than like what this deck was doing specifically. But of course, the good ones are still in here. High Velocity Slice we know is good in Rodan. World's Weakest Hunter, as long as you don't run into DR. Tri-Gravity Beam, Ice Sword Execution, all the good stuff, right? Other than that, the Foundations, Science Bros is kind of like a cool new way to help, but this is pretty much always just giving 1/1 in your character. However, when you have an incubating, it does turn incubating into +1 damage.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And then also, it is a 3-diff that just draws you a card on your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
the
stack with
duality
Rodan,
card,
remove for minus stats, draw the card
Yeah.
that you want is very, very good at this character.
Yeah, so it's almost like playing extra copies of Supersonic Flight, but this one stays in your stage
And hits them really hard.
and hits them hard. So like I really liked it in this character. Again, we're not doing the jackpot stuff. Like even with playing Combined Firepower, none of your cards that you hit from that are removing. So
Yeah.
it's not really doing that thing. That being said, the rest of it is just very defensive.
I mean, just putting +1
Yeah.
damage on all of your moves as Rodan is honestly good enough to like you could
Enough.
even 4x Science Bros and not feel bad. Truthfully, like just
Yeah,
you
probably
really want to see this card just because of the +1 damage. Having your World's Weakest Hunters become on average 9 for 4s feels so much better than 8 for 3. It just does.
Keeping Alert, I was giving it a shot. I still think Disarming Glance is probably the better card. Especially with some of the other decks we've already talked about. Like Disarming Glance against like a Nick Reagan is way better because if they try and just like they played an attack that draws a card and you don't know what they're going to hit off the top of the deck, but if the card that they hit is a draw effect, you've denied that as well. Like, I think the one-off cancels right now are not as good. I think Disarming Glance is probably still the right call, and it's not because it has a mid block. I was just giving it a shot, but it was fine. Card's good. It's just Disarming Glance is probably a little better.
Yeah, I think the only thing in here that I'm not like absolutely enamored with is just Size Specialist. I get why it's here. Of like, I'll block with my Science Bros and I'll build it in. I'll grab this Size Specialist and whatever. But like, trading the 1-for-1 is kind of it's like a backwards looking version of Um, Desperate Plea, I think is the name of that card.
Yeah, but you don't get to play that one.
Probably just like a maybe like a one of inside of here. Hell man, I would maybe cut this for one more Science Bros and just like feel great because the difference
Nah, it's
between
for the
Science.
Nonagon play.
What?
For the Nonagon play.
Oh,
Your one
sure.
mid block that you build in, and you go, hey, your next attack might get
Yeah,
sealed,
it doesn't work. Yeah. Yeah, this looks very good. This looks super, super good. My
It's really good.
turn. Let's talk Terry. So the goal of this deck was all roads lead to Bedazzled Helmblast. And so I needed assets to do this. I needed enough foundations to make things happen and then play the game. Bedazzled every attack in my deck is ranged. So Beast Titan attack says that whenever I want, if I have played it, form go pick it up, and I can make Beast Titan attacks so fast with things like Badgie, right? Badgie turns this into a 9 mid for 9 mid for 11. That like is just like my one big poke, and I don't even necessarily have to have the backup to make it the throw. Like I just don't care. And then just like a Bedazzled Helmblast to finish the job is just good. Some of these ideas, again, I took this from another person. Big shout out to Zachary Richards. He had this list in a chat. I took it and went, I like some of these cards. I think your deck is too big, so I cut it down. And was trying to find some spots. I think the number one just like breadwinner here in this deck is Just Suited Up. This card is crazy in this character. This card's crazy in this character. I never got to have it on the board against you. And this character is just like every asset character, just really susceptible to a hacker. Like if they just find hackers, I just don't know what we do. But a lot of speed, a lot of damage, one massive Bedazzled Helmblast after a couple decent pokes. Just trying to get the job done.
I have some notes.
Hit me.
And it's just things to talk about. I agree with you. I think all roads lead to Bedazzled, which means I think that we have to be like I kind of honestly view this deck more like a combo deck than playing a normal game of Universes.
Yeah.
I think it is all roads lead to this, and you play like other value attacks to get you there. But I also think it means that like this character is just actually so good at playing like real ass interaction with your opponent. And what I mean by that is I do think like Big Fist Bash is really good in this character because you can always get vertical if you want to get it, and then you can make your attacks be like a dual threat offensively, and it's also just a +3 breaker block.
Yeah.
And you are so good at blocking a move when you want to block it, right? Yeah. The Suited Up is turn it sideways for -4 speed. Your Badgies, if you don't turn them sideways offensively, you don't care if your opponent gets a 3 damage. It says commit for -3 speed. Like, I did a play yesterday where I like blocked with a Badgie and it built down. And you're like, dude, you idiot, you gave me 3 damage. And I go, I also said I'm blocking it because I committed it sideways. Absorbed Energy Strike does exactly what this deck wants to do. Block Trick, get a momentum, denies your opponent of these powerful like shift attacks right now or echo moves.
It's probably better than whatever Ready Shot has got going on. Every time I play this card, I did not like it even a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, this deck's really good at just playing Patchwork because Bedazzled has 4 keywords, 5
keywords,
5 keywords on it, and it only shares powerful and tech with Patchwork. So it's like another dual threat. I would say another one. You're an asset deck and you have air. Strategic Maneuver is a very good card in this guy. It says go.
I looked at it, but it's just Terry, right? But I guess he gets a Terry twice.
It's better Terry. This card says go grab Suited Up without spending any momentum.
Sure.
You don't get to snap build it, but the idea is that form speed. I can't tell you honestly how many times I would like go second, and I would have a strategic maneuver in my hand, and I would go build a thing, build a thing, build a thing. I checked an asset. I go, I want that one. Play this on a 3. Pick up the asset, build it. Like it just trades itself. And then when you need it to be, as I go to some of the assets that I think you're missing, Dr. Ichigaki has order on it.
Yeah, it got cut from the list just because we had so much. And even then,
Yeah.
looking, I mean, I'll call him out. It's Zach's list. He had like some things like Cabal and Starblazer at like 2 ofs, and I was like, homie, I need a wider range of assets rather than taller. And Gold Tips Imperial did not feel great, but I think that I played against an aggro deck that wasn't defending
Yeah.
at all against me, and
Yeah.
so
Correct.
like
Yeah, so like the real game plan if you do the combo thing is for every copy of Gold Tips Imperial that you get on your stage and you play a lazy poke, but you make it threatening, you go, thoughts? And you go, well shit, do I take 9? Or do I block this and give my opponent 3 or 4 momentum
yeah,
because they
20
have 4 gold
damage
tips,
on Bedazzled.
which becomes bedazzled fodder. That being said, I do think Cabal is very good. I think I played 2 of it. From my stolen list also, just because like you get to build it and the inventor enhance on it is too
It's
good.
so
Like
good. Yeah.
it's extra speed, and then it's that backswing damage, right? And I think this character actually is very good at chain blocking when you want to. You said different varieties. I will bring up Cute Baby is also pretty good in this deck. It turns your breakers into +1, and it turns your powerful 5 actually into powerful 6, and it's a destroy cost. So eventually, if you build all the one diffs that you're like, I don't have any more to build, this one's repeatable.
Fair.
Other than that, I there's not really any crazy notes. I think you were just very much like all into the stun thing.
I just
Or this,
wanted to
this deck
pick up
was.
Bedazzled, and I just didn't get to. I just wanted
Yeah,
to B
I
side
will
and then
say.
Bedazzled, and then spoilers, I
I will say that's the
exploded. Like what do you
yeah.
like? What do you do?
I will say that's the biggest actual weakness of my deck is like when you or the combo one that I feel like this one is yeah, man, you sure do have to wait till you drop a dazzled.
Yeah.
So I totally get it. But at the same
In
time,
that case, like
if you're,
like you should just play B side attacks.
probably.
Card's so good.
Yeah, because like to me, like the weakest defenders were like I was trying out Inventor's Creation because it works on defense.
Yeah.
It says remove a Big Fist Bash, and you breaker 3 with this.
Yeah.
And
it also becomes more
and then
Bedazzled.
also, I was also doing Vile Seizing because again, I was a combo deck, and eventually, if they matched me and went really wide, it was just the craziest deadlock piece, right?
Sure.
So, and breaker for the cute babies. But all in all, I think this guy's very good. This was who I was talking about. I think this guy is very good against Grog because he will just send one of these for lethal, and if you have the good interaction pieces to protect your combo, they just die.
Yeah.
It is, but it's playing a more real game plan because the green cards help you play the flow of the game, right? And yeah, you just play like enough attacks to where you can still play the game.
Hell yeah.
Science Bros is cool. How are you removing?
Tarion removes.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Tarion, and then you've got assets that remove as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, I saw the list and I sent it and I was like, I think this is fine. I think the idea of Science Bros is actually more drawing on defense rather than giving bonus stats to just fill your hand back up and then keep blocking.
Yeah.
But
yeah, this one, the one I have in my hand, is for sure more like a combo deck. It even plays like high velocity slice of like I'm gonna get momentum no matter what. Like I don't care what you do, but like I'm gonna get momentum. The absorb energy strikes get momentum, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. Anywho, we'll move on to Vaxildan. Lows and Urban's Vital Charge. Lows and mids are the name of the game here. All of these are low attacks with Bang Bang, Venom Fang Dagger, Arrows and Daggers, Gouging Needle, Satchel Toss, and then the only mids that I have are Sweeping Throat, Irwin. The idea is on the third attack, I take and I go Throat Slitter, or I've used something along the lines of Monster Zero and Golden Death in tandem to lose your hand. I toss in any number of combined firepowers, and then I kill you with a Vax trigger.
The rest of the moves.
Because I really want this response to be playable rather than just playing good stuff and it gets a bunch of stats. Good stuff and I can block pretty well. I ignore progressive on blocking. Things like Venom Fang Dagger are just like crazy if they're allowed to connect, but they are the slowest low attack of all time, and my character does not give very much speed. I'm not gaining a bunch of momentum to put things up like VME. The deck used to have The 2/5, if an attack deals damage, your thief enhance, your moves get speed. It just wasn't enough to warrant playing the 2/5 for the bonus speed. So I was just trying to play the longest string of all time, putting in more things like latent skill, having unabashed manner to remove more for more active and live combined fire powers. All in all, this deck feels very tip of the iceberg for what this character can be. I've seen some void lists doing this same idea, but the difference between the void list and the death list is the death list gets arrows and daggers to play the Urwa's Vital Charge late, and like on a 5 for free. But I think this deck, and it has more Bing Bong cards of the Unabashed Manner and the Avoiding Conflict. All in all, though, I think this list is fine for Babies vs. Vex, but the only reason that it's going to stay on my Ultra account at all is because it's content. I would just delete this deck after I've played it now I think 3 times. This deck just isn't getting there. It's just not quite good enough. I think that there's something really cool. I'm excited to see. Like, I almost tried to make like an air version, but I was like, I'm gonna give the combined firepower thing one more try. It just feels like everybody sees combined firepower with this character and they go, "Holy shit, that's so much damage!" And then the other moves get blocked, like kind of easily. I'm just like, ugh. And things are fast enough that like putting combines in my card pool in order to block, I'm like wasting all my responses, my jackpots in order to put them in. So now I don't have them on offense. It like the timing just feels like a little off and weird for this specifically on the death deck.
Man, it's crazy though. I think this was your scariest deck today. Like, no, that's not like shade for anything else you played, but I think this was the scariest deck you played today.
Well, I mean, it's a big damage discarding deck, right? Like,
yeah, and I thought
yeah.
that was really good. I mean, like, there are, in my opinion, not as many people going into the discard thing than you were. Granted, you're not like full sending it. You're not like playing Tri-Gravity Beams also, right? But like the Throat Slitter, because it's also a weapon.
Yeah.
You just like you get those cards out.
All of my success has been 9 times out of 10 for this deck has been like Throat Slitter. I probably should just like cut the Urwa's Final Charge genuinely and just play more Throat Slitters. Just full send it. This card is so good. This card is so good.
It's crazy too that like you had Monster Zero on your board. And I went, oh, this card is actually fucking scary.
I think it's really good right now.
It was to the point where I had to actually defensively seal it. I said, I'm not allowed to let you press this button on me.
Yeah.
I think honestly, man, like aside from other tweakings, I think this deck is just missing Science Bros. You talked about speed, but like you are Bing potting so many cards.
I have the air symbol, man. I just forgot that I have the air symbol.
And I think it's crazy because you're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards with dagger in the name, which means the bottom blitz on sweeping daggers actually works in your deck.
Oh,
which is another trigger for Science Bro.
Oh, sure. Okay. All right.
I think it's just like, Monster Zero is your only 3-diff here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not super important, but I'm like, man, like, you have the Botans, you have the latent skills for getting the Bing pot cards out of your hand. You're playing 4 avoiding conflict. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It's to me, it's like cut the Sean, put in some rooms, put some Science Bros in here, and like, you have a way to get speed now, right? Like,
sure.
And it's repeatable, which means your opponent has to constantly make that hard decision of what they're blocking and what they're not blocking. When you go to play the Urwa's Final Charge and you blow up 5 of your foundations to give it 5/5, you actually are getting more XX if any of those were Bing pot cards.
Yeah.
I think this is like, again, this deck felt very good to play against. Like I was scared and you were mono zone checking me and I was like, shit, like. But yeah.
Okay, that makes me feel better. Yeah, I just in an attuned world, I just forgot Science Bros existed.
That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be fair, we put a lot of Science Bros decks today.
We certainly did. We
would have had another one.
But with that said, I'm gonna get the whatever pulled up real quick. I'll come here. It's draft time. If I do this, does it run everything? No, good. Yeah, let's take and rocket. Okay, so I'm going to turn this back off. I want to come into presentation mode. And then two-person showcase. All right. We've got our picks here. I'm gonna take Vax and bring him down. Grog, Mitch, and Terry. You're bringing down Percy, Nick, Rodan, and Devil Jin. For everybody at home, the way that we're going to do this is we're going to be tossing 2 of our fish back and then redrafting from all of these characters down here. I am going to go ahead and toss back Amalimok and Bakugo, and then I'll ask you to throw 2 fish back.
I'll put back Godzilla, and I'm afraid of you hate drafting me, so I will put back Not the Brave.
Sure.
Yeah.
Funny.
I also have an in-person Vex list that I can just play whenever I feel like I'm lazy for a deck. I have one.
Fair.
So it is an easy one for me.
Okay, let's start. And sorry, we come back and we have to now play one of these 2 characters that we have picked. Remind me after this. I want to show you my gesture list.
Don't do that, or I'll play it.
No, you won't.
Why?
No, you won't.
Are you being lame?
No,
Are
you
you
won't.
looping?
No, you won't. You will not play my gesture list. There's no chance. Again, I have forgotten. How does this shit work?
It's however you want it to work. Do you want loser?
Yeah, I'll just draft
first pick.
I'm gonna pick Ford. I think this guy looks cool.
Dang, I have him built too. You fucked up, dude. I would like Annie Lionheart, please.
Yes.
And I would also like Elder Toguro. I'm gonna put the same deck twice.
How cool of you. How cool of you. I'm going to go in a very similar idea. I'm going to go Beast Titan. And then I will do... Caleb Widowgast.
Wow. What the hell is happening?
Yeah.
Okay. What the actual hell is happening? I would like Sasha Blouse Food Fanatic.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam Rutherford Devron Racer.
Yeah, the racing guy.
The 7-hander.
Wherever he is. He doesn't exist. Sorry, man.
That's okay. Well, I guess I'll pick...
There he is. He's actually just right next to that, Sam.
Right, that's the 7-hander guy.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've got 2. I'm going to pick Ymir. And I had another one that... Toga 3. Ymir and Toga
weapons.
3.
A lot of good weapons, for sure. No doubt. Wowie wow. What should I do? Scroll up. How many fun decks do I have right now versus like competitive decks? Okay. I just don't want to build a bunch of decks doing the same thing. I need to prove a point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'll work, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pick Allura. Top right. I need to prove a point, so I have to pick Allura.
Okay, last pick.
And then for my final pick, I would like to not play a bunch of weird defensive decks. So I should probably pick an aggro deck. Nah, fuck it. I'll pick Crystal Lens.
Crystallins.
I'll do the thing.
Okay, so I have one more pick, and it is a weird one. I got to figure out what it is that I actually want to do.
He's like, I'm gonna get you, Bear. I'm gonna pick the other Jester.
No. I've made her, and she is very neat for very fun casual. She's more like a week 5, week 6 kind of idea.
Hey, there you go. You got a game plan. I'll remember that for week 5, where I'll pick her.
I do have a bit of a game plan going into this one.
Okay. Well, good, because you're down a week.
Yeah.
Boom. Got full swept, son.
I mean,
Spoilers.
I'm gonna pick Not the Brave. Chaotic Meddler. I think it's been my last one.
You're Tim Keefe pilled. He likes that guy.
I think this character is very
Girl.
good. I think this character is very good. I played against it one time, and the person I was playing against was very new with the deck, and misplayed to lose against me. Or sorry, misplayed to not beat me. And I was playing a deck that I really believed in, and I was like, oh, shikes. I didn't realize this character was this good. But they are. They are that good. And so there you have it. There's the list. We have to play at least Jester or Vex, and I have to play either Hanji or Pony. We are allowed to play both if we so wish. So with that, that's the podcast, guys. Thank you all for hanging out. I do really appreciate it. Got it done in an hour almost on the dot.
We did it. We're getting better.
Thank you much.
I mean, wow, for the first time ever.
For
wow,
the
I
first
can't believe we got it
time ever.
exactly.
Thank you much for watching. I do greatly appreciate it, you guys. This was fun. Next week, join us again Thursday as we rock these ones. With that said, thank you much for watching, as always.